Howdy, it's Miss Kosh. I wanted to talk through a few calculator tips as we're working through this right triangle unit in both IB and in PreCal. First thing is that you need to be careful with the mode that you're in. In PreCal and in IB, we start talking radians. So there's definitely times when you want to be in radians, and there's other times when you need to stay in degrees. So right now we're still in degrees. So what we do is we go to setup. Do you see where it says setup right here? So we'll do second menu, it gives me setup, and then I can come down here to the angle. And so my options are degrees, radians, and I don't know if this is gradient. I'm not really sure what that does, so I don't mess with it. So I either want to be in degrees or I want to be in radians. The nice thing is it'll tell me up here at the top what mode I'm in, so I don't have to go back and check it every time. I can just look up and say, oh yeah, they gave me the problem in radians, I'm in radians, life is good. But this, right now we're typically in degrees, so I'm going to change that to degrees, and then I can see this right here, degrees. Okay, so the next thing that I want to point out to you is if we have something like, say they ask you just to evaluate secant of 77 degrees. Okay, if I have something like that, well, we know that secant is equal to 1 over cosine. So this is going to be equal to 1 over cosine of 77 degrees. And that's what I need to type into my calculator. So what I would need to do is I would need to, I like this fraction button right here. And then I can say 1 over, and then it's cosine of 77, verify that I'm in degrees, sure enough. And so now I know that this secant of 77 is approximately 4.445. IB typically likes 3 sig figs, so maybe we should have said 4.45. In PreCal, we often do 3 decimal places, so we just kind of mixed up. So that's how you use the reciprocal. The other thing is, how do we find an angle? Let's say I've given you a right triangle, and my birthday is 6/17, and let's say we want to find this angle right here. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll set up our ratio, and I know here's the angle I care about. This is the opposite, obviously. This is the adjacent. Hopefully you're familiar with that concept. Opposite over adjacent is tangent. So tangent of x is equal to 6/17. And so now when I use my calculator, what I'm doing is I'm undoing this tangent operation, just like if I had this. Oh, you can't see it. If I had x squared is equal to 16, I'm undoing the square by taking the square root. And so this is where we would say square root, plus minus. And so I did the inverse operation. I undid that, which would then give me plus or minus 4. Over here, I have to undo tangent by taking the inverse tangent. And so this is the inverse tangent of tangent. Well, if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. Okay, and then these things cancel each other out, and I just get x is exactly equal to the inverse tangent of 6/17. And when I come to my calculator, what I'll do is I'll hit second tangent, and then here's my 6/17. And so it's going to tell me that my angle is about, x is about 19.4 degrees. Okay, was there anything else I need to tell you? Oh, one other thing, that we can use this notation, and that's the notation that the calculator uses. We will discuss later this year, or after Christmas, that we can also say arctangent. So like arctangent of 6/17 is the same thing as saying inverse tangent of 6/17. So you won't see that yet. We will see that later. Okay, make sure you practice. Good luck.